Welcome to Deep Thought. Do your own research into different leaders. And I don't know, I kind of went back and forth whether to call it leaders or speakers. Whatever the case, do your own research. Because there are a lot of leaders out here, a lot of speakers, a lot of would-be leaders. And they have their fans, they have their supporters, but they also have their detractors. And of course, they have some people who talk against them. I was inspired because there's, I'll just say, a popular YouTuber who goes in on different leaders. Now, I'm not going to give the YouTuber's name. I'm not going to give him that much press because he's actually interesting because there's some things he says I actually agree with. But then there's some things I don't agree with when he's going in on different leaders. And please don't get in the comments trying to say, is it this person, this person? No, I'll keep it to myself because, I don't like talking about anybody. But still, even with him, I'm doing my research. And even with myself, like I said, don't believe everything I'm saying. Go out and see for yourself. Do the research. And one of the things out here is you do have to do your research into different leaders. And because there's always going to be some detractors say, hey, don't follow him. And you get some people, they'll listen to the detractor instead of finding out on their own. I remember a few years ago, I ain't gonna say who the person was. It's a well-known YouTuber. And he was on a panel. It was a mixed panel, some men and women. And the woman actually said, you know what, you all right. You are all right. Well, she hadn't done her research. See, here's the thing. I don't get into saying anything bad or good about any person publicly if I haven't thoroughly researched them. There's plenty of people like that they'll have clips of, especially on social media, who somebody will show the bad clips. It just depends on who's showing the clip and what their agenda is. But I don't say anything about them. Sometimes people will even ask about them and I'll say, no, I gotta check them out. And there's quite a few times that there's some people who they'll say, well, this person's bad. It was like, well, I don't know. I haven't seen it because what you're going to get is other people trying to tell you something. Like, for example, I'll use myself for an example. There's plenty of people who might say, oh, yeah, Uncle Rom's great. And then plenty of people aren't. I would tell you, why don't you find out? In fact, I used to tell women that when I was younger. Some women, they want to go out right away. I say, hold up. Why don't you make sure I ain't crazy? Why don't you take your time, find out who I am, talk with me a bit. Find out, make sure I ain't somebody crazy. You might like how I look or something, or I'm turning you on right now, but I might be the wrong person for you. I actually told some women that. Think about it. They actually probably lost out on some sex because of that. Now, there were a few women, they found out, they was like, okay, he cool. They cool. In fact, I got 2 sons upstairs from one of those women. She took her time, found out about me. But then there's some other women, they're like, no. It was like, okay, that's cool. I respected that. And that's just in relationships. But we're talking about leaders and speakers out here. I'm going to tell you what. There's a lot of leaders out here. They're not really leading you. I wouldn't even call them leaders. Like I said, speakers. There's a lot of people, and there's some names I could call. And there's one in particular, I've done some research, and I was like, I don't know why people following him. And trust me, I like I said, I don't get into it. That's why I say do your own research. If somebody's like speaking, leading, trying to give you expertise in an area that you're interested in, do your due diligence. Do your own research. Make sure they know what they're talking about. It's like search everything. And I'm going to tell you what, when you're doing the research, pay attention not only to those who support that person, but pay attention to those who don't. And then you might have to do a little bit of research into those who don't. Like, what's their agenda? Like, everybody has an agenda. So ask yourself, okay, who's saying what against what? What's their agenda? Why are they saying it? Why are they going against this? You know? Because that's one of the things I do. Well, I don't care if somebody say something. I start looking. I look at the person. I say, okay, what's their agenda? What they getting out of it? You know, I look at the detractor. I look at the supporter. Because you got to look at it, and you have to do that, because you have a lot of theys. They pay people to say certain things. They pay people. Like, I can think of one leader who says a lot of stuff, and I'm like, you know, and I said something to somebody else about this particular leader. I said, I think a they is paying them to say some stuff. They say on the surface it look like, I'll just say they one night I ain't gonna go that far, give out too much information. Let's just say they will look to be positive for a certain group. But then it was like, listen to them good. They might be an agent. And I talked about this with somebody. That's because I've been doing the research on this person for a while. And like I said, don't ask me who. But do it on everybody, including me. I don't care. I don't care if you, look, I want you to do the research on me. I don't want you to. I don't want you to be the type of person that's going to take what I say on the surface and not do your own research. I want you to look into it. And if I want you to do that with me, do that with everybody. Do your own research. And even if somebody's talking about somebody else, ask them why. Because there was one person that detracted heavily against this other person. But then all of a sudden, when he met that person in the real world, they were real friendly. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Weren't you just talking trash about that person? You got to look into it. Because remember, don't do it because you want to support this supporter. Don't do it because you want to support this detractor. Do it for yourself. Do it because if you're listening to someone, you're doing it because it's making your life better. But you need to know that they're going in the right direction. You need to, research. Research the information that they're giving. If they're telling you something, it's like, okay, let me look that up first. And I've said that several times. Do your own research. Don't be quick to listen. Like you know, I ain't call any names because, see, I'm going to tell you what, part of that is I don't want to bias anybody against anyone. But if you question anyone, including myself, look into it. Look into it. I don't mind. And if I don't mind, well, they might mind or something. But you always got to ask yourself, okay, why are they saying this? Because you have some leaders / speakers, whatever. They might just be getting money out of it. Or they might be under the influence of a they. You always have to look into it, all right? So I want y'all to think about that. So anyway, that's all I have for today. I want y'all to think about it. Do the research. Research everything I just said. Think about it on your own, okay? And I'll get back with y'all. Peace and blessings.